dermatologist because Vacation U doesn't do doctors. So bundle your RV with your home or auto policy and earn an automatic discount from Progressive. And spend the savings on the both of you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Colin Cowherd.
Quarterbacks can be a lot of things in the NFL, but they can't be weird. You start looking at the stories that came out. Aaron Rodgers was the Steelers' third choice. Aaron's career is ending the way a lot of careers end for relatives and musicians and actors. Aaron's aging the way weird ages.
The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Weekdays, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna with your weather forecast from ESPN Northwest Florida on this Friday. A possibility of thunderstorms and mostly sunshine the rest of the day with a wind coming out of the west-southwest around 8 miles per hour and 89. Tonight, look for clear skies with a temperature near 79. Tomorrow, a high around 90 and mostly sunshine in the morning and then likely thunderstorms. This weather forecast is sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumber yard in Panama City. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
So you've heard the saying that if you love your job, you'll never have to work? Well, it's true.
I've worked for Brock Lawn and Pest Control for many years. The commitment to the needs of customers
and their commitment to each employee makes Brock a company I'm very proud to be a part of.
Brock's core values are also mine. Give people more than they expect and always honor your promises.
This isn't a job, it's a service to help people live a healthier lifestyle.
Brock Lawn and Pest Control, our family protecting your family.
Get ready to discover new adventures this summer and hit the road in a new 2025 Kia Telluride from Bill Bird Kia. Whether you're traveling on the highways or off-road, you'll do it with grace and grit. Now offering 3.9% APR for up to 48 months on the purchase of a new 2025 Kia Telluride. During the Kia Summer Sticker Sales Event, experience what everyone's talking about. Stop by for a test drive today and discover the perfect fit, featuring spacious 8-passenger seating, premium interior, and advanced safety and technology features. Bill Bird Kia, the home of that 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. Stop by and see us at 2435 East 15th Street or anytime at BillBirdKiaPanamaCity.com. The road is yours this summer and a new Kia from Bill Bird Kia.
Offer from Kia Finance America for the purchase of a new 2025 Kia Telluride with $2,253 per $1,000 financed at 48 months. Quality limits cannot be combined with other finance offers. The 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty is a Bill Bird Kia warranty. See dealer for complete details. Offer for well-qualified buyers. Must take delivery from dealer stock through 7725.
Signworks, a business serving businesses since 1985. Everything from signs and banners, vehicles and boats, magnetic and real estate signs, contractor signs, and much more. Signworks can do large format, full color printing too. Signworks, a real professional in the business world. Call Signworks at 785-8899. Signworks, 850-785-8899.
WGSX Lynn Haven, WVLQ Port St. Joe. Powered by Panama City Toyota.
And that's out of the ballpark.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Transmitting from the CBC Construction Studio. Get ready.
Deep center field and heading for the horizon.
Sports Talk Radio will never be the same.
Onions, pickles.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
Way back and gone.
On ESPN
Northwest Florida.
What is up, Panama City? You're now riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. Tuned in here to ESPN Northwest Florida, live and local from the CBC Construction Studios. You can visit their website at cbcconstruction.com. I'm David Hayes, along with the Captain Caveman Rick. How are you, brother?
Yo, happy Friday. Good to be here with you, man. It's pretty hot out there, man.
It is.
Like technically the first day of summer, I guess, today.
It is. It's the summer solstice, longest day of the year, bright sun, and a nice bit of humidity that we haven't had as bad lately, but here we are in summer officially.
How about that, too? After today, it's all downhill after today, man.
Hey, don't say that. Come on. There's going to be... you got... Sometimes the summer nights can be cooler.
I'm fine with it, man. I can't, man. The heat's
You like the heat better than
No, I don't like the heat, man. Like when you go outside, man, just breathing makes you sweat, makes you tired. I don't want to do that, man. It gets pretty unbearable around here, you know.
So what do you mean by it's all downhill from?
Well, like with hours in the day, like we get to the longest day, and
okay.
today,
All right,
so we're
I see what you're
down,
saying now. I
for
thought
the
you were
rest of the year. And so it's all downhill as far as that goes. And then also, I mean, okay, so you got we'll get into that, your big win last night with the Pacers.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So we got Game 7 coming Sunday, and then you got a College World Series game this weekend. But outside of that, man, then it's just baseball for like the next, 2 months. And it's kind of like, those dog days of summer when, kind of sports world slows down. And you know what I'm saying? We don't got as much to, unfortunately, talk about. We have to kind of generate stuff. To try to, kind of keep the conversation going.
Keep the conversation going. The Braves are keeping the conversation going. Braves winning
kept
last
up with
night.
us winning yesterday, too.
Hey, good job. Way to beat our opponents tonight.
Well, so, like the Mets lost. You guys beat them, right? So we get to play them today. So.
And that also helped the Phillies catch the Mets as well. So can we get a thank you to the Atlanta Braves from the Phillies?
No.
All right, then. Just stay over there in your chair.
But I mean, you guys, what, 10 games? You guys are behind us in the Mets right now.
Yeah, it is
5.5 out of the wild card or a playoff spot. So, yeah, I mean, there's some good ground to make up. Like I said, if we, end up handling the Mets this weekend, maybe we get lucky, we sweep them, then you guys got to leapfrog them to get to us.
Hey, there you go, though. That's how I kind of envisioned it to start the season, that the Braves would be chasing the Phillies and not both of them, being behind them 10 games. But they're only 6 games under 500 at 33 and 39. So they've got an opportunity here against the Phillies. As I was saying, as I was saying on the Inside Drive, rather, I think we need to win 4 of the next 6, and that kind of continues the pace of turning the corner. We've got more on the Braves coming up after their sweep over the Mets.
You win 4 your last. You do that is, we just got to make sure one of these 2 teams that are ahead of you.
I'm fine with the Phillies going 0 for 6.
I'm just still saying, either way, but whoever, because then the Mets are still getting ahead of you in the next 3 games. So that's what I'm saying. It's kind of a catch-22,
Yeah, it is.
In a lot of ways.
It is. I'm just not rooting for you. I'm not even going to think about that series existing over the weekend. Just worry about the Met, or worry about the Marlins this weekend. And then the Braves will get the Mets to start the week, and then we'll close out the weekend. Next Friday will be a little bit of fun as the Braves and the Phillies will be getting after it, and this time it'll be in Truist. It'll be in Truist instead of Citizens Bank Park. As Caveman Rick mentioned, the Pacers did force Game 7 last night, 108-91. We're going to have Mark Monteith coming up at 4:20. He's going to dive into a recap from last night, and then we'll preview the upcoming Game 7 this Sunday. We'll play Guess That Player at 4:40 this afternoon. 5 new clues for a new player. Sam Peebles will join us to kick off hour number 2. We're going to make our picks for the All-Star ballots finally this weekend. And I've got some other things to talk about with Sam Peebles. Of course, we've got to get his thoughts on what the Braves have been doing lately. Right State Chris is going to join us at 5:20. We'll talk all things College World Series, and then we'll wrap the show up this afternoon with picks and props for the weekend. Very simple call-in question of the day. You can hit us up on the Red 7T's phone line. Actually, text-in question of the day. We've had a couple of calls, but a lot more text than we get calls. When it comes to the question of the day, Red 7T's phone line, the brand that brands you. Who wins Game 7 of the NBA Finals? Is it the Pacers or the Thunder? Drop your score prediction by texting it into the Red 7T's phone line, 850-215-60. To 90. All right, let's dive into it. Braves last night completing that sweep of the Mets. 3 straight series wins for them. Let's hear the highlights that came from the Atlanta Braves radio network last night.
All B's with a bullet out towards left field. There's a base hit. Olsen around third. Here's the throw out of Taylor. Throw to the plate. A dive, and he's in there.
There go the runners. The pitch is low, ball 4. Whatever sign he gave him, whatever sign he couldn't hear, he couldn't throw it over the plate. And that'll be the last pitch that Holmes throws tonight. Ozzie, green light? No. Ball 4, he forced in another run. 3-1 Atlanta. 2 runs in the inning. Winding the pitch, swung on, hook to right field. Stay fair, ball into the corner. Everybody run. one. Everybody touch the bags. Everybody get waved home. Here's a throw to the plate. Save. A 3-run double for Olsen. 6-1 Atlanta. Third, 2 out, the 2-2. Swung on, hit hard to the right side, and through. Base hit. A 2-out knock for Drake Baldwin. Olsen scores. 7-1 Atlanta.
Due to Nemo. Down he goes. Strikeout in the game. Make it 2 strikeouts in the game. A slider fans Pete Alonso. Riders 2-2 pitch. And McNeil fans the breeze. Slider got him swinging. 2 to Taylor. And a lunge and a miss. Got him with a slider. Back-to-back strikeouts for Spencer Strider.
Spencer fires. Slider chased a bad ball. Dug out by Baldwin. Pitch. Swing and a miss. Got him with that slider down and in again. Exact same pitch he struck him out on in the first inning. Strider ahead 1-2. The next pitch. Swung on and missed. Threw it right by him.
He cuts it loose. Got him swinging. Strike 3. It's a Braves win. They sweep the Mets. Mets came down here and got peeled like an apple by the Braves. And Atlanta wins it 7-1 over New York. And the Braves have now won 3 straight, and they'll try to keep this momentum rolling as we head down to Miami to see the Marlins starting tomorrow night. But this was a massive series win and massive sweep for the Braves, taking out the first-place Mets 3 games in a row. For the Mets in the 9th, no runs, 1 hit, no errors, and a man left. Final score, Braves 7, Mets 1.
There you go. Go Braves, completing the sweep. Matt Olson, as we mentioned, hitting that 3-run double last night to clear the bases. So good to see Spencer Strider finding his form that makes him 2-5 on the year. He had 8 strikeouts last night in 6 innings, which one of the keys that we were talking about last night is out-hitting the Mets. First and foremost, out-hitting, but then getting 6 innings out of Spencer Strider to go with 6 strikeouts. He went for 6. He gets his 8 strikeouts, and the Braves beat the Mets 7-1. Look, it sounded like you had some jargon to
first
add
you
in
said
there.
6 strikeouts and you said 8. So I know it was 8.
Yeah. 8 strikeouts. Thank you for correcting me and making sure that we're
well,
right.
I lost my parlay last night based off of that because I thought he was going to go under.
What, he was at 6.5? Is that what the number was for him?
I think it was 6.5.
I think it was 6.5. Yeah.
So anyways, I thought he'd go under because your guys' pitchers have been doing pretty good lately. The last few games with strikeouts, so I figured, I'd kind of do to not go over.
Keep the compliments coming, Caveman Rig. The Braves again 3 straight series win, 3 straight games won, and they've won 7 of 9, down by 10 games in the National League East to the Mets and the Phillies. But just a week ago, they were 15 games out of first place. The Braves are going to be taking on the Marlins right here on ESPN Northwest Florida tonight. Didier Fuentes is going to be getting called up. He'll be going for the Braves tonight. All I know about him, he's 20 years old. It's going to be essentially a spot start to kind of give some arms some rest. 20 years old, 48 strikeouts, 12 walks, 39 and a third innings pitched. He's been on 4 clubs this year, 4 affiliate clubs of the Braves this year, the 4th being the Major League clubs. So we'll find out a little bit more from Sam Peebles this later on this afternoon about Didier Fuentes. Looking forward to his Major League debut.
Yeah, didn't he have his photo up on the app and stuff like that? No information. So I was like, yep, taking the under.
and you know, when you go to that Phillies Marlins series this last week, it was a lot of low scoring games for the most part. So the under does feel pretty safe. And then on the mound for the Marlins, you have Jansen Junk, and his junk must be pretty good to have a 2.78 ERA. The whip's at 1.01. He's got 20 strikeouts, so it almost feels like a bullpen game for the Marlins as well. The Marlins are 29-44 at the house. They're 15-23. They are 16-37 in games when they have allowed a home run, which the Braves tend to hit a decent amount of home runs. The Braves are 12-24 on the road. They're 34-39 overall. The Braves hitters have a collective OBP of 319, and that is good for 8th in the National League. Over the last 10 games, the Marlins are at 500 at 5-5. They're hitting 264 as a team, the ERA at 4.4, and they've been outscored in totality by 5 runs. The Braves are 7-3, hitting 255, the ERA at 2.83, and they have outscored their opponents, Caveman Rick, by 20 runs. That's a good feeling. Again, I'm cautiously optimistic about this. I'm not saying that the Braves have turned the corner, but it's nice after the sweep. It's nice after the debacle that happened last Sunday against the Colorado Rockies. 3 straight series wins. You add the sweep there against one of the best teams in the National League, in the New York Mets. I like where the team is headed, and now we can maybe calm down with the questions on all Snit needs to, not Snit, but AA needs to blow it up. All Snit needs to go, or why is Ozzy Albies so apathetic? All of these questions. Not that we're done talking about these, because all it takes is another bad stretch and we're right into that same very conversation.
One more week, man. You're just talking about, we had one good week, man. We made up 5 games. Exactly. Like one bad week, and now you're back down to 15 again.
Exactly, and that is the way of the world of baseball.
Yeah.
Sammy Sosa mending fences with the Chicago Cubs. He returned to Wrigley Field. The Cubs and the Mariners are actually playing right now. But, yeah, pretty cool of the Cubs. I mean, since Sammy Sosa's kind of disgraced ending to his career, acknowledging the PED performance there, the Cubs and Sammy Sosa haven't had a relationship at all. So how do you feel about this, Caveman Rick? I know that it's not your team, but still, this is one of the guys who put baseball on his back. Even if he put needles in his arms or in his back, he still helped the game of baseball.
Yeah, I mean, he helped. He already did what he was supposed to do, right? Mm-hmm. I don't think the Cubs owe him anything. I don't think he owes the Cubs anything. I think it's just kind of like one of those things that they both kind of used each other for what they needed each other for. They got what they were looking for out of each other, and it is what it is. So he kind of figured out over time that they probably would mend the fences, like you were saying, kind of, come to terms, invite them back, have kind of like a cordial atmosphere if he's around for games and, for that kind of thing. But when you have that kind of stuff going on, and a lot of people don't like it, with the steroids and what have you, it kind of puts you in a sticky situation, with the Cubs. I think if you're going to do it, you may do it kind of quietly, don't make a big to-do about it, don't make it more grandiose than what it really is. And then you mentioned the positives, but without, don't forget about the negatives and, talk about everything and let everybody know about that, because there is some people out there, some generations that weren't around for that kind of stuff and don't know exactly. So you don't want to put him on a pedestal and make him oh, yeah, it's a Sammy Sosa. He's one of the greats, Chicago Cubs history, without, mentioning some of the other, kinds of stuff, the shenanigans. So, like I said, it's kind of a touchy situation, but you kind of figure that, with somebody that's that big of a name, kind of like a Pete Rose, with, baseball, the Reds, not on that same level, but you kind of can't tell the story in some ways.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. It doesn't say exactly what he's going to be doing today, but he is going to be inducted into the Cubs Hall of Fame later on this year. So I think that's great. I think it's great for the Cubs to welcome back one of their legends and to kind of clear the air between them two. And I love it for the Cubs, and I love it for PCA too, right? I mean, for any of the young Cubs right now who get to be and share some moments with Sammy Sosa, I think that's huge. Anytime that franchise players can connect with former franchise players, you learn more about your franchise, you learn more about the past, you learn more about the history. I think that it's only up from there.
Yeah, again, like I said, when these players do these kinds of things, it's I guess there's some good, if you will, quote unquote, out of it. But again, you're kind of twisting stuff around. It's good, but then you're also, in a way, acknowledging and not disparaging some of the bad.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying.
Like, I mean, like Pete Crow Armstrong, you just mentioned him, right?
Okay.
Does he really need to have Sammy Sosa in the locker room or around the field, or whatever, to know about the Cubs, or like to hit better, or to, you know what I'm saying?
All right,
like,
no, but it's the same way as this. It's the same way as this. All right, if it's can't go Reese Hoskins. Oh, we can go Bryce Harper. Right, and he can know about the past of some of the great first basemen for the Phillies, right? And that's cool and all, but then what difference does it make? I would say that it makes a difference when you get to meet that player in real life. Does it make a difference in your on-field attributes? No, not necessarily, but I think that it ties you a little bit deeper into the franchise's vines.
Maybe I say it's all show, man. It's just pageantry.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all this is.
All of this stuff. Yeah, I do agree with that. The Pacers last night forced Game 7. Absolute blast for myself last night. 108-91. That score, which is a 17-point deficit, does not really show how dominant the Pacers were last night. You can say dominant. You can also say how loose the Thunder were. They had another game in the bag. They knew that they could suffer a loss. Maybe they wanted to win in front of the home crowd. Who knows? But I do know that the Pacers played well last night, well enough to force that Game 7 this coming Sunday. Halliburton had 23 minutes. We've been talking about the calf strain to this point. 23 minutes. He scored 14 and ended up being plus 25 in the point differential. Obi Toppin added on 20 points last night, with Andrew Nembhard adding 17, who's kind of your backup point guard, your starting shooting guard for the Pacers. TJ McConnell off the bench, not as many points as what he had in Game 5, where he had 18. He had 12 last night. He had 9 rebounds and 6 assists for Indiana. And then after the game last night, TJ McConnell was being questioned by the guys on NBA TV. TJ McConnell's dad was just kind of standing there, had a headset on, was listening to the interview, and then Isaiah Thomas calls him over, and the guys started asking TJ McConnell's dad a few questions about TJ. Here's Dad.
I'm going to tell you right now, he's a warrior. You're right. It doesn't matter how tall you are.
That's right. That's your fault. The heart of a champion.
Yes,
no
yes.
question. What do you think of his performance tonight?
Excellent. Just disappointing, missed 2 foul shots in the beginning. I kept saying, man, I wish he'd have made those 2 foul shots. But he recovered, and we won the game. So I can forget about the foul shots. Anything can happen in Game 7. We're going to OKC to try to win a world championship. And my son's a part of it, and I can't believe that.
That is some pretty cool stuff. I like how when they were bringing up the size, though, they were like, that's your fault, Dad, because he might be a little bit shorter than TJ, but TJ's sister also plays in the WNBA, so he's got to be a very proud father, and he sounded pretty proud talking about him right there, and then also talking about how awesome it could be. The fact that his son is involved in something like this, I think about it every time he steps on the floor. I'm like, I wonder about the friends that he went to high school with, and they've got to be sitting there watching him in these games like, I can't believe that TJ is in the NBA Finals, and he's not just a guy wearing a jersey. He's coming in with impactful minutes, impactful points, and impactful rebounds and assists as well.
Yeah, he's coming in with a lot of energy. It's kind of hard to match that, I guess, too, when you got a guy coming off the bench like that with fresh legs and really invigorating. So yeah, it's a good thing that the Pacers got him, because without him,
I almost called him yesterday.
It might have been a lot closer.
Yeah, you're right about that. I almost called him the Great White Hope yesterday. I stayed away from that. Tyrese Halliburton did call him the Great White Hope yesterday evening. OKC shot 42% from the field, 8 of 30 from the tray. Jalen Williams, who had 40 in Game 5, had a minus 40. That's a point differential. I believe he had less than 20 points last night. But again, early in the fourth quarter, Shea, Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, all of those guys were on the bench. I did notice Reggie Miller, you know, normally pros, you don't see them on the side wearing jerseys of any sort. Reggie Miller took the opportunity in these 3 home games for the Indiana Pacers to wear a number 13 jersey for Mark Jackson, a number 32 jersey for Dale Davis, and then last night he wore number 5 for Jalen Rose. I just thought that was really cool. Reggie Miller, arguably and I don't think there's much of a debate there. The greatest Pacer of all time, representing other Pacers in this big moment. And not even current ones as well. Heroes of the Pacers. So that was pretty cool last night. First Game 7 in the NBA in 9 years. History favors the home team in these moments. 15 of the last 9 Game 7s in the NBA Finals were won by the club playing on its own court. The Thunder played a Game 7 at home earlier in these playoffs. They won by 32. That was to get to the Western Conference Finals against the Denver Nuggets. All-time home teams are 112 and 38 in Game 7s. However, the visiting teams have won 9 of the last 14 Game 7s played since 2021. So you're telling me there's a chance. I can't wait for it. Hopefully you guys are tuned into that game this coming Sunday evening. But if not, we'll get you ready with Mark Monteith coming up next. Don't forget, this is your home for the Atlanta Braves on the Gulf Coast, ESPN Northwest Florida. Coverage starts tonight at 6 o'clock. First pitch, 6:10. Didier Fuentes on the mound for the Braves. Braves baseball on ESPN Northwest Florida is brought to you locally by Bill Bird Kia, PCB Hobby, Panama City Toyota, Hewitt Tire and Auto, and Hometown Towing. You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. We're the Afternoon Underdogs. Mark Monteith talking NBA Finals when we return.
The Red 70s studio line is now open. 850-215-6290. Keep the game going with ESPN Northwest Florida. Just because you get out of the car doesn't mean the Sports Talk and Live play-by-play have to end. Just say, hey Alexa, open ESPN Northwest Florida. From Michigan Avenue to the Man Cave, from the car to the kitchen, we've got you covered. Keep the game going. Hey Alexa, open ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna with your weather forecast from ESPN Northwest Florida on this Friday. A possibility of thunderstorms and mostly sunshine the rest of the day with a wind coming out of the west-southwest around 8 miles per hour and 89. Tonight, look for clear skies with a temperature near 79. Tomorrow, a high around 90 and mostly sunshine in the morning and then likely thunderstorms. This weather forecast is sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumber yard in Panama City. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
PCB Hobby, the beach's premier hobby store for sports cards, comics, coins, and trading card games. PCB Hobby carries the largest selection of boxes and packs from the latest releases of brands like Topps, Panini, Leaf, and more. Looking for a specific player or team? PCB Hobby has a wide assortment of raw and graded cards. They carry parallel rookie, game used, and autographed cards in both modern and vintage. Have a collection you want to sell? We buy, sell, and trade. PCB Hobby on Back Beach Road, just east of Florida Linen. Call 850-320-8388.
Now in stock at Tommy Otto's.
2015 Jeep Grand Cherokee Altitude. Luxury at a value price. $13,995 or a 2017 Hyundai Santa Fe Sport with one owner. Sporty and affordable. $11,995 at Tommy Otto's.
Buy here, pay here. Financing options available. Everyone is approved. Tommy Otto's, 2209 West 15th Street, Panama City. 850-960-8664. For the latest deals and specials, follow Tommy Otto's on Facebook. Add tag, tax, and title. When the chips are down and the games are close, the 2025 Atlanta Braves don't give up the fight.
Ozuna sends one soaring to deep left field. That's got wings and an engine, and it's 3-1 Braves.
Tonight, don't miss a battle of division rivals from Lone Depot Park in Miami as Ronald Acuna and the Braves take on the Miami Marlins.
Braves heading down to Miami to take on the Marlins. Pre-game 6 o'clock, first pitch 6:10. Your home for the Braves on the Gulf Coast, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Now, we're live and local inside the CBC Construction Studios. You want a big-time sports show? Tune in for the Afternoon Underdogs.
We're live and local here.
Weekdays from 4 till 6.
We need one more SEC team in there to shake things up.
The Afternoon Underdogs are on the air. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
We're live, we're local, we're the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. I'm David Hazel along with Caveman Rick and the Bone Crusher. Thank you guys for joining us on this Friday as we're live from the CBC Construction Studios. Call them at 850-747-3815 or visit their website at cbcconstruction.com. And by the way, it's your final day for voting. Thank you guys first and foremost for nominating The Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey and the Coach Hale Morning Show as your favorite radio show in the best of Bay from the News Herald. We've been on a mission to be hyper-local, serve the community, and provide our residents and visitors an exciting and entertaining space. To keep your radio fun and positive in Panama City, Lynn Haven, PCB, 30A, and across Bay County, go to ESPNPC.com. Vote Ryan Mulvey or Coach James Hale for the best radio personality in the best of Bay. And thanks again for listening to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Ryan will be back hosting the Inside Drive this coming Tuesday and continued with the thoughts and prayers for the Mulvey family. Let's get over to the Red 7 Tees phone line. They are the brand that brands you. You can check them out at red7tees.com. We've got our good friend Mark Monteith on the line with us. Mark has been keeping us up to date on the NBA Finals. Used to write for the Indianapolis Sun there. Mark, how are you doing today?
Great. That's Indianapolis Star, by the way.
Star. I don't have anything. I since we had Joe on yesterday, I was just trying to go from memory, and we see how that's working out, right?
That's okay. No problem.
So, Mark, big win for the Pacers last night. Obviously, forcing Game 7. The crowd was nothing short of electric. They kept on. Scott Van Pelt last night on ESPN kept on giving praises to the Indiana faithful. But give us your thoughts, your perspective on Game 6 last night.
Well, I think they were great defensively. You know, they had trouble scoring at times, and they got off to a slow start, which I kind of like seeing. This team almost needs to have a slow start and have to start fighting from behind to play well. Give them a big early lead, they're almost certain to blow it. So I kind of liked them being down 10-2 like they were, and they did rally. And I thought, they rode the wave of the crowd. They were a desperate team. And really, when you look back at the series, the team that has had to win a game won the game. I mean, the Pacers won Game 1, so OKC had to win Game 2 really down there, and they did. And then the Pacers win Game 3, and OKC had to win Game 4, and they did. And then, of course, going into last night's game, Game 6, the Pacers are down 3-2, so they had to win, and they did. So I guess both teams have to win on Sunday. But I thought the Pacers were the most desperate team, and OKC, they knew in the back of their heads that, we got another game here. We don't have to get this one, and it'd be kind of nice to celebrate it at home with our fans, that kind of thing. So I think the OKC was not at their best, but I give the Pacers a ton of credit. I thought they were outstanding defensively and just played with a lot of energy.
Yes, they did. There was a lot of energy, even from the injured Tyrese Halliburton going into that game with a calf strain. How'd you feel about his performance last night? Plus 25. He had 23 minutes, 14 points. Was a factor in a couple of big plays in the assist in the facilitation area. How'd you feel about his performance?
I thought he was good. I thought that was really, given his injury, and he was questionable for the game, I think that's all you could ask of him. I think it was great for him that the Pacers had the lead they did, and he didn't have to play a lot of minutes. 23 minutes is all he had to go. He had 5 assists and just 1 turnover, a couple steals. He hit 3 3-pointers. So it was a good game. It was really kind of what he needed as far as the workload, and the Pacers got what they needed from him. And their strength, as we have discussed before, is their balance and depth. So they had other people they could rely on. They don't rely on him the way that Oklahoma City relies on SGA. So all in all, it was just the right kind of game for Halliburton.
You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. We've got Mark Monteith on the Red 7Ts phone line with us. Mark, T.J. McConnell, we talked about what makes him so special a little bit yesterday afternoon. He comes back. He had the 18-point performance in Game 5. Game 6, he drops 12 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. His dad gets on with Isaiah Thomas on NBA TV talking about what a warrior he is, how excited he is for him. But just tell me about your thoughts for T.J. McConnell's performance. How does that little man keep on being so big?
Yeah, he's so fun to watch, and he's been that way ever since the Pacers got him. I can't imagine what Philadelphia was thinking. They let him get away as a free agent. I mean, the Pacers got him on the cheap. I guess, on the surface, he doesn't look like an NBA player, and he was undrafted and all that, but he just does so many things. He brings so much to the team off the court as well, or when he's not in the game. I mean, I noticed last night there was a play where the Pacers, Nembhard hit a three-pointer, and the Pacers are running back on defense, and you can see in the corner of the screen T.J. McConnell get up and say something to the assistant coaches. He's basically an assistant coach out there, and he really knows the game, coach's son. He's always in somebody's ear saying the right thing or giving instruction. So he's really a valuable guy. And he's been great all season. And it's really great that he's had these opportunities in the playoffs to showcase what he can do. And I hope, if the Pacers offense drags down Sunday, as it did in Game 5, that they play him more, that they let him finish the game if necessary. I've been saying this since he arrived with the Pacers. His first coach with the Pacers was Nate McMillan, and it was the same thing. They'd bring him in the third quarter, and he would spark a rally of some kind, and then they'd take him out and bring the starters back, and the offense would bog down again. And I'm sitting there, why can't he finish a game when he's playing so well? When you know that he makes the offense click? And that happened, of course, in Game 5. So I would be curious to see if Rick Carlisle would have the courage to stray from his normal rotation and let T.J. McConnell finish the game. I would certainly hope so if he's doing what he has done throughout this series. He's quicker than you think. He can get into the lane, create off the dribble. He creates movement in the offense all by himself because he'll reverse the ball by himself. He'll get into the lane, and if you cut while he's got the ball, you'll get a layup. So he just does what nobody else on that team can do, and he's more athletic than you think, and he certainly knows the game, and he can shoot off the dribble. And a guy his size, you've got to be able to shoot off the dribble and get a quick release. So he's a great story. It was great seeing his dad there with him. I've gotten to know his dad. His dad has some great stories about coaching TJ in high school. They would go through stretches where they wouldn't even speak to one another. His dad would be writing him for something, and TJ would fire back at him, and they would not say a word to one another at the dinner table. And Mom would have to intervene and tell him to knock it off, that kind of thing. But obviously they have a great relationship, and it was fun seeing his dad on television last night.
Yeah, it was. And we can't forget to add to his accolades. He was out rebounding or rebounding over in front of, rather, Hartenstein last night. I mean, the guy is everywhere on the floor. And another guy who continues to get mentioned from the Pacers squad, has a reputation in the NBA of being a guy you don't want to mess with. He played 2 minutes last night. He got a standing ovation when he went into the game, and then when he left the game, he played 2 minutes, 2 ovations, 1 ejection. What has James Johnson meant to this squad, regardless of the minutes? What has he meant in from your perspective to this Pacers and to this Pacers run?
Yeah, he's like the big brother who doesn't let anybody boulder you. He's a black belt. I mean, he is a genuinely tough guy, and that's why he's with him. He knows what to say in the locker room and during games. He supports the coaches, and he gives guys confidence, and he's just like having your big brother around who isn't going to let anybody pick on you. And he'll yell stuff on the bench, threaten guys on other teams, with physical harm, that kind of thing. So they like having him around. I've asked the question before to people in their front office, like, isn't this team old enough that they don't need a guy like James Johnson around anymore? Don't they have enough experience that they can take care of themselves? And the answer I get is no. No, he is really valuable to this group. So he hardly ever plays. He's 37 years old. He's not going to do much on the court, but he apparently has tremendous value just being in that locker room and on the bench.
The Pacers seem to have the momentum right now, but we've seen the Thunder blown out, bounce back in this playoff. How did the Pacers prevent that in this series?
Oh, boy, you've got to obviously approach Sunday's game, number one, with confidence, and number two, with energy. And they'll have to get it done at the defensive end. I hope you get enough players with a hot hand that you'll score enough points, but it's got to start on defense with energy. That's how they've been winning in this series. So, but a lot of it is just about your state of mind. You wonder, is Oklahoma City going to feel the pressure? Being at home, you can imagine the talk radio conversation going on in Oklahoma City today and tomorrow and Sunday leading up to the game, and what those players are going to be feeling going into that game. The pressure of expectation can be debilitating sometimes. And the Pacers, their playoff history is to have their great moments on the road. And so we'll see how that plays out. But, Slick Leonard, when he coached those ABA championships, would tell the players when they're on the road for a big game, walk out there like you owned the damn place. And that's the mentality they took, and that's why they won their championships on the road. They had two opportunities to win ABA championships at home, had champagne on ice and everything, and they couldn't get it done. So there's a lot you can sell the Pacer players on in this situation. You're not expected to win this game. You're the underdog. You have nothing to lose here. You're playing with house money. This franchise's history is all about winning road games. So you sell that to the players and see what happens.
You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. We're on the line right now with Mark Monteith. He's a freelance writer, editor, and author. He also wrote the book Reborn, which is about the Pacers and the return of pro basketball to Indianapolis. I saw a comment of yours on Facebook about the all-time starting five for the Pacers, and you said that they should make the distinction of all-time NBA Pacers. So I've got two questions for you. Your all-time starting five for the NBA Pacers and then for the ABA Pacers. I'll share mine real fast. I don't have ABA, wasn't watching basketball at that point in time. But for the NBA, I'll start with point guard. I'll go Tyrese Halliburton. At shooting guard, I'll go Reggie Miller. Forward, at small forward, I'll go Paul George. Power forward, Jermaine O'Neal. And then at center, I was stuck between Roy Hibbert and Rick Smits, but I'm going to go with Rick Smits right there, Mr. Smooth.
Yeah, that's a good lineup. I would not argue that. It's hard to compare a guy like Reggie Miller, who plays 18 seasons, versus a guy like Halliburton, who's 24 years old, and is really at the beginning of his career still. But I think those are the two guys to go with. Jermaine O'Neal was a six-time All-Star. That's more than any Pacer has made the All-Star team. Reggie Miller made it 5 times. Paul George was like an MVP candidate around the league when he was playing, and he had an unhappy exit. I mean, the fans turned on him when he asked for a trade, and I understand that. But when he was healthy and playing, he was really about as good a player as the Pacers have ever had. And, center, Rick Smits is a good choice. He's our second all-time leading scorer, played 12 seasons, made the All-Star team just once, but still, was a major factor in a lot of their success. And you could actually also bring up a guy like Brad Miller, who made the All-Star team for the Pacers. He only played with them like basically 2 seasons, and he also made the All-Star team a couple times in Sacramento. He was a really talented guy, but because he didn't play that long for the Pacers, I think you'd have to give Smith the edge. So I would not argue with that. I think you made good choices there. For the ABA guys, you have the obvious choices of their Hall of Famers, being Mel Daniels, Roger Brown, George McGinnis. Freddie Lewis has to be there, and he is the most underrated Pacer and should have a retired jersey number there. It's really a failure of the front office not to recognize that. There's a whole backstory to why that has happened. It's nothing personal against him. This is kind of a fluky thing, but Freddie was the captain of all 3 of their ABA championship teams, was the MVP of the ABA Finals in '72 and was even the MVP of the All-Star game one year while playing for St. Louis. He made a lot of sacrifices being surrounded by Hall of Fame talent. So there's 4 guys. To pick a 5th guy, I guess if you're going by position, you would have to pick another guard, and I guess it would have to be Billy Keller. He was never an All-Star, but he was also on all 3 other ABA championship teams. Kind of a T.J. McConnell guy. Came off the bench more than he started, but he usually finished games. Great three-point shooter, great competitor. Had been Indiana's Mr. Basketball and the Purdue standout when they went to the championship game of the NCAA tournament in 1969. So I guess he would have to be the other ABA selection there on that all-time team.
All right, great stuff. Great lineups there as well. All right, one last time for 2025. The Thunder will win Game 7 if, fill in that blank for us, Mark.
If SGA has a big game, and the odds of that are pretty good. He hasn't had a bad one yet. Last night was his worst one. But if he's unstoppable and he gets his 30-some points, I think they are likely to win. They've got a lot of advantages being at home. He will probably get the calls when he pushes off, and gets that shot up. He's uncanny how he hits that shot. So I think if he has a big game, they're going to be awfully difficult to stop.
And the one blank that we do want to be filled in, the Pacers will win Game 7 if, fill in that blank for us, Mark.
If they don't turn the ball over and play great defense. They have had a big problem with turnovers in this series, and they did a better job of that last night, obviously. If they can limit their turnovers so they get up a lot of shots, if they can get up as many field goal attempts as OKC, they've been shooting it better, so they need to take advantage of that by not turning the ball over. If they can play great defense and not turn the ball over, then I think they can win it.
All right, I love it. That's a great answer, and we're looking forward to Game 7 coming up this Sunday. Mark, thanks so much for all of your time over these playoffs with us, and go Pacers.
All right, thank you. Good to be with you.
Hey, great to have you. That's Mark Monteith, ladies and gentlemen. You can head over to his Twitter. Check it out, at Mark Monteith. He's also got a website, markmonteith.com, and you can purchase all of his books there. I am now really intrigued by the Reborn book, which is about the Pacers and their return to pro basketball. Thanks again to Mark Monteith joining us on the Red 17th phone line. We're going to take a break. When we get back, it's time to guess that player who might be near and dear to at least, maybe not your heart, but at least the heart of your team. This is the Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Get in the game. Call or text us now on the Red 7T studio line. 850-215-6290. ESPN Northwest Florida.
The Atlanta Braves play here.
It's another weekend with the Atlanta Braves.
Everybody get waved home. Here's a throw to the plate. Save! A 3-run double for Olsen.
The Braves swept the Mets and now look to wreck the Miami Marlins. We'll have coverage from Lone Depot Park coming up at 6 on your home for the Atlanta Braves on the Gulf Coast.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna with your weather forecast from ESPN Northwest Florida on this Friday. A possibility of thunderstorms and mostly sunshine the rest of the day with a wind coming out of the west-southwest around 8 miles per hour and 89. Tonight, look for clear skies with a temperature near 79. Tomorrow, a high around 90 and mostly sunshine in the morning and then likely thunderstorms. This weather forecast is sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumber yard in Panama City. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
TK Vandy Roofing and General Contracting is a fifth-generation contracting company based right here out of Bay County. TK Vandy's expertise in commercial and residential roofing, as well as a design-build general contractor, set them aside as a versatile and fresh alternative to achieve your construction needs. Contact TK Vandy Roofing, 850-866-9908, or email support@tkvandy.com. They can't wait to help you.
When you bring your vehicle to Panama City Toyota for repairs or maintenance, you'll get the warmest welcome around.
That's because we see service differently.
It's not only an expert team that can help with everything, from simple adjustments to a new set of tires. It's also a team that values your time, so we make your experience as quick and comfortable as possible. Because we're committed to service that goes beyond. Only at Panama City Toyota.
Transmitting from the CBC Construction Studio. Hometown Sports Talk from hometown hosts.
People are loving it.
We're live and local. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs.
Are you kidding me?
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
For accurate forecast and active weather updates, turn to Joanna. Rely on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida for up-to-the-minute and breaking weather. That's sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, Ellis Agency Insurance, and Earthworks of Northwest Florida. I'm David Hayes, along with Caveman Rick and the Bone Crusher. We are the Afternoon Underdogs, and you're listening to the best dang station here in Panama, ESPN Northwest Florida. It is time for, we're not playing trivia, but it's the same concept, a way for you guys to win things from the Afternoon Underdogs. That's brought to you by Hiller Plumbing. Our confident service technicians will provide you with a solution for any home plumbing, heating, or cooling problem. Let us show you how we can make you a happy Hiller customer. Contact your trusted licensed technician in Panama City today by calling the Happy Face Truck at 850-495-7822 or visit their website, happyhiller.com. Guess that player for this afternoon. How this is going to work, I think instead of just reading the first hint, I'm going to read the first two hints, and then for each caller from moving forward, we'll have a new hint. I've got a total of 5 hints. So our player for today, he was a shortstop who also played some third base late in his career. He spent parts of 4 seasons with the Atlanta Braves. Guess that player for your opportunity to win a 12-pack of Buffalo Rock, $25 to not the, but that boot store, and we'll throw in an ESPN Northwest Florida t-shirt there. He was a shortstop who also played some third base late in his career, and he spent parts of 4 seasons with the Atlanta Braves. And I wouldn't even say this is a hint. This is more of a perspective of mine. All right, so the hint is he is a shortstop. So with that being said, he was not one of my favorite shortstops on the Atlanta Braves, and the day that we moved off of him was like, all right, maybe we're headed in the right direction. We still had a long ways to go before we found the right direction. Shortstop who also played third base late in his career, spent parts of 4 seasons with the Braves. Call for the next hint, 850-215-6290. That is the Red 7T's phone line. You can visit Red 7T's at red7ts.com. They are the brand that brands you. Caveman Rick, we just had the Stanley Cup Finals. We got to talk with Andrew Weiss yesterday. We were supposed to do a little exploring into the storylines of the offseason of the NHL. We got into a few of them, but spent a lot of time talking about the back-to-back championships. Back-to-back Stanley Cups, rather, between the Bolts and the Panthers, and which run was better. I felt like he gave some very good answers to that. But the Stanley Cup final ratings are out. Now, I do got to imagine that the first couple of games were off the charts, but the Stanley Cup final ratings dropped. They're down from 2024. Not only that, and I guess this isn't a huge surprise, but they're lower than the Four Nations tournament.
I can kind of see that too. Usually when you get the international kind of stuff going, it gets a little bit more attention going with it. The Four Nations was a big deal. You had the big matchup between Canada and U.S., obviously. So I can kind of see where that, was kind of heading. Plus, that wasn't a 7-game series. So because of that, it's probably easier for people to, watch. Again, the time of year when the Four Nation series was going on, it's not like now where people are out doing stuff, summertime, and it's a little bit better weather. So that might have something to do with that as well. Not to mention the 2 markets. I mean, a lot of Canada, right, was rooting for Edmonton, obviously, because of their lack of success in the Stanley Cup Finals for a while. But when it comes to the U.S., I mean, you had, basically Miami, Florida in the Stanley Cup, final, which isn't, the norm for hockey, you know, even though the Stanley Cup's resided in Florida for a little while now. Yeah, it's just not your typical, like, you know, venue to watch hockey, especially, you know, middle of June.
So the Four Nations face-off final between U.S. and Canada was watched by 9.3 million people in the U.S., 10.7 million people in Canada. The 6-round robin games averaged 4.6 million here in North America. There was an average of 2.5 million viewers watching the Stanley Cup on TNT, 2.8 million tuning in for the Game 6 clincher there. The overall number on cable is down from 4.17 million last year, which is the lowest since Tampa Bay, the Lightning, and the Canadiens in 2021, which was essentially the
COVID and stuff like that.
Yeah, that was the COVID Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the year after that was the Stars, so. Well, so it doesn't, and I know it doesn't surprise me, it doesn't surprise you as being a little bit more into hockey.
No,
because
like I said,
of the time.
Yeah, again, because of the time. I said, like, you know, where we're at right now. You know, but you would think, too, the lack of stuff being on as well. They were competing some of those games with some other events, like the basketball times and stuff, too. So kind of wonder sometimes the way they do the scheduling, you know, like, why don't they try to have time slots where they're standalone games so they're not competing with something else like the NBA Finals? I mean, like, you know, some people, they only have one television, or, you know, they're only going to sit there with one TV, you know, in the house. They're not like, you know, my living room, I got a couple TVs or something. So in that case, they're going to pick one over the other. And in, you know, this country, unfortunately, it's probably going to be, you know, basketball over hockey in a lot of homes.
Yeah, that's a good point. It will be interesting to see what the NBA Finals are looking like as far as viewership goes. I think that it helps that they've had a pretty good series. I mean, first Game 7 since 2016 when it was the Cavs and the Warriors, and that incredible comeback.
Weak markets, though, too, in the basketball. When you got, you know, Indianapolis, Indiana, and you got OKC, too. It's not like your most favorable markups when you think about, you know, marquee matchups as far as, you know, getting eyeballs. It's not like a New York, LA series or something like that, you know.
Which, I mean, so for me, I take it into the world of baseball. Because regardless, the championship of each sport, I'm watching. Doesn't matter. I'll watch most of the playoffs regardless if my team's in the playoffs or not. I'm definitely going to be tuned into the finals of these sports. But, like, in baseball, if I have Kansas City Royals versus, I don't want to say Giants, I will go crazy. Kansas City Royals, Washington Nationals, right? Those are two pretty small markets, right? And if they're playing in the World Series, I'm excited about that World Series.
But you're a sports guy, and you're talking casual sports fans that aren't fanatical about stuff.
It's hard to compare that to.
And you're trying to get them to get their eyeballs. If there's not some storyline, there's not something that, you know, some hook to get them, you know, other than just what's going on in the game. Sometimes it's hard for those people to you know latch on, especially when you're talking 7 games. You're not talking like one game like the Super Bowl, one evening that you just have to devote your time to. You're talking to appointment viewing at least a minimum of 4 to 7 times.
Yeah, that's a wonderful point, Caveman Rick, and I do not like agreeing with you on the regular. But we might agree on this one. Jonathan Taves signing with the Winnipeg Jets. He's going to get a 1-year, $2 million deal. There's some bonuses in there that are performance-based. He was the Blackhawks captain. He led the Blackhawks to 3 Stanley Cups. Missed the last 2 entire seasons dealing with inflammatory and immune system issues. How cool is this that he's trying this comeback? I know he's been wanting it for at least the last year that he's been getting closer to being better.
I don't want to like rain on this parade, but right now Winnipeg's probably a year too late.
I don't know why I thought we would agree on this. I don't know what in the world I was thinking.
Well, what I'm thinking is, like, had he been able to play this year, the season that they had this year, and he would have been on this team, and he would have been an asset to this team, they could be in the Stanley Cup Finals. You know, they could have been, you know, playing Florida,
especially with Hellebuyck,
you know, Edmonton, because, you know, I mean, basically it was Hellebuyck. If he would have been playing in the playoffs the way he played during the regular season, you probably should have seen them, you know, in the Stanley Cup Final. So I'm just saying, you had that piece like Jonathan Taves this past year. Maybe he was that one piece to kind of get him over that hump, and maybe, you know, with him, even with the woes of Hellebuyck, he still kind of, you know, progress in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So after that season they just had, it's going to be kind of hard to duplicate what you just did this past season, this next season is what I'm trying to say. So him going there, I mean, he's looking to win. Obviously, he's been in the league for like a long time.
Right.
It's not like he's like, got like a bunch of, seasons left that he can play. I mean, unless this is his only option, nobody else was looking to sign him, then, I mean, yeah, good for him. But like I said, it might just be 1 year too late, I'm thinking, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not looking at this as being a cup hoisting move by any means. I just think that it was that, and I should have known that you were going to rain on the parade a little bit. I just think it's really cool, the resiliency here of all the things that he's been dealing with and trying to make it back. Will it turn the Blue Jackets or the Winnipeg Jets rather into a winning just to win the cup? Who knows? But they did, as you mentioned, they had a great run this year. They've got one of the best goalies in the game right now. So we'll see what it does for them. But courageous resilience there from Jonathan Toews.
If you want to keep playing, you don't have to just do it in the NHL. I mean, look at guys like Jaromir Jagr playing overseas, owns his own team and stuff. There's ways to keep going if you want to keep playing. So
there is ways for you to keep playing, and that's pretty much overseas.
Yeah, I'm sure he probably wants to play.
Do they have like a professional older league in Canada? They gotta have.
I'm sure they got some like all kinds of like minor type leagues that he could get involved in if he was really wanting to. I'm just saying like more like serious than like a beer league. I'm sure that there's something like that out there. But in the grand scheme of things, even if he wanted to say play minor league hockey, I think at his talent level, he could still play and compete with like, the ECHL type players because of, what he's been through and what he's done. I'm sure it's like the equivalent of like a guy like Messi going and playing for MLS,
Right.
It's like, come on, man, look at the talent pool around him, and what this guy's accomplished. So yeah, if you want to play, there's ways to get out there and put, lace up your blades and, like James says, keep your stick on the ice.
Keep your stick on the ice. We were talking earlier about it being hot, it being the peak of summer. It was also getting pretty hot in that Dodgers-Padres series. They're going to have enough time to cool down as they won't play again until August. They have 2 more series against each other. But benches clear again last night. Tatis took a pretty nasty pitch to around the elbow area. And then,
that was like in the ribs, wasn't it? Or no? Was it the elbow?
I believe it hit his arm. If it wasn't in the arm, then he got the arm out of the way, and then it hit him in the ribs. I watched a brief. Well, I was watching SportsCenter last night. That's where I initially saw it. But the focus was more on Dave Roberts and Mike Schilt at that point, who both of those managers were injected, but just were ejected, not injected. That would be Sammy Sosa and Mark McGuire and Barry Bonds. But with that situation last night, I found a couple of stats that were kind of interesting on that. Since Tatis Jr.'s PED suspension back in 2023, he's been hit by 14 pitches. 5 of those pitches were thrown by the LA Dodgers.
They play him a bunch.
Yeah, exactly. That's elevated.
Fair.
It's kind of like the Marlins hitting Ronald Acuna Jr. And then Ohtani, his hit by pitch, according to Baseball Savant, it was the 3rd time that is it Robert or Roberto Suarez?
I don't know.
All right. Well, Suarez, the closer for the Padres, had hit a left-handed batter in his career. Just the 3rd time in his career he hit a lefty, and the 1st time that he'd hit any batter since 2022. That one was on purpose. That was intentional. Where that one, Shohei Ohtani. But I did love he starts trotting first base. The benches have already cleared. The guys look like they're going to hop over, and Shohei's just like, no. Izzy's doing the time for all of this.
He got plunked too, and he goes over to the first base and shakes the first base and hand again too, like no big deal, So just keeping it, keeping it casual.
He's growing on me, man. Also growing on me. Time for a break. Why?
Real quick. I was going to say something about Suarez real fast, if we got time. Something I noticed on the Phillies game the other day. You had Ranger Suarez going up against the Suarez for the Marlins. I can't remember his first name. So kind of weird but different. So you had Suarez versus Suarez, and then Ranger Suarez has his apostrophe over the A in his name, where the one in Miami was over the E. So it was spelled the same way, but the apostrophe was in a different location. I was like, wow, it's just kind of odd, Suarez versus Suarez, and I don't know, just kind of something that caught my eye.
Yeah, no doubt, because the Suarez Suarez does look different there, but it's Robert Suarez, not Roberto Suarez. And y'all had a picture of Ranger Suarez, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what.
All right, it's the Afternoon Underdogs. Sam Peebles is going to join us live on the Red 17's phone line to talk Atlanta Braves baseball. Caveman Rick's favorite thing in the entire world. We'll be right back. Keep it locked in here to the Afternoon Underdogs.
Jump off.
Reach out and smack someone. Call or text now. 850-215-6290. The Red 17 studio line. Atlanta Braves are back.
Here comes the throw. It's late. Braves win.
And ESPN Northwest Florida is your exclusive radio home for Braves country.
He just wrecked that thing. Straight away center, a homer for Riley.
Sales, Strider, Acuna, Ozzie, Riley, Profar, and Coach Snitker lead a stellar lineup. Listen live nights and weekends on ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida. Here is your weather forecast on this Friday evening. As we head into tonight, clear skies and a low of 78 with a very light wind. For tomorrow morning, sunshine and a temp near 91. In the afternoon and evening, possible thunderstorms and mostly sunny and a high around 91. For Sunday, mostly sunshine in the morning followed by a possibility of thunderstorms and a high of 87. This weather forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Lone Star Boil House and Sports Bar, where the locals go for the best boiled seafood around. Crawfish, shrimp, red royals, and everything crabs. Watch almost every sporting event in the country on their huge outdoor jumbotron. Follow them on Facebook to stay up to date on weekly events, live music, and food and beer specials. Lone Star Boil House and Sports Bar, your home away from home for sports, good times, and great food. The best boiled seafood. Lone Star Boil House and Sports Bar, 320 West 5th Street, downtown Panama City.
Tired of boring merch and want your brand to stand out like the big names? Elevate your look with Red 7Ts. They don't just print shirts, they create bold identities. They are a veteran-owned custom apparel shop providing the kind of detail that turns heads, using high-quality digital printing and embroidery to give you that unique style you love with no minimums or cookie-cutter designs. From small business to sports teams, if you've got a vision, they'll help you wear it proudly. Visit red7ts.com.
WPLQ Port St. Joe, WGSX Lumen. Powered by Panama City Toyota.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Chips are down and the games are close. The 2025 Atlanta Braves don't give up the fight.
Ozuna sends one soaring to deep left field. That's got wings and an engine. And it's 3-1 Braves.
Tonight, don't miss a battle of division rivals from Lone Depot Park in Miami as Ronald Acuna and the Braves take on the Miami Marlins.
Braves heading down to Miami to take on the Marlins. Pre-game 6 o'clock, first pitch 6:10. Your home for the Braves on the Gulf Coast, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Broadcasting from the CBC Construction Studios. You're riding shotgun with the Afternoon Underdogs. We're going to need some gas money. The Afternoon Underdogs.
Fill her up, please.
And 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
It's hour number 2, Panama City. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. You're riding along with the Afternoon Underdogs. We've got the Bone Crusher playing the great tunes this afternoon. Caveman Rick joining myself, David Hayes, here in the CBC Construction Studios. You can visit their website, cbcconstruction.com, or you can call them at 850-747-3815. The PCB Hobby Takeover with Todd. He talks about coins, trading cards, collectibles, and the amazing stories behind them. We always take your calls and questions at 850-215-6290, the Red 7T's phone line. And Mondays at 5:20 is where you can hear Todd take over the Afternoon Underdogs with the PCB Hobby Takeover. Coming up next, Sam Peebles on the line with us. He is the host, the creator of the Braves Dugout podcast. As we venture to the Red 7T's phone line, if you have a question, you can call in and talk with Sam or text at that same very number, 850-215-6290. Sam the man, how's your Friday going, bro?
It's going awesome. It is Friday. Had the day off yesterday, so it's kind of crazy
going back to work one day and coming back, so I'm feeling pretty refreshed.
I like that. If you were to have, let's say that they were cut the work week down to a 4-day work week, would you rather go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, have Thursday off, and then go back Friday and then get 2 more days, or just have all 3 days consecutive? Sometimes Caveman kind of gave me a weird look there. I just thought of the question off the top of my head, but sometimes it's nice to get that little 1 day out of nowhere.
I think the 1 day is nice if it's random.
Yeah.
But if it was every single week, I think I'd prefer the consecutive days.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Just thought of that and figured I'd ask you. Sam, the Braves sweeping the Mets. They've got 3 straight series wins. What's your thoughts on the last few days, last 5 to 7 days for the Braves?
Well, I think it's a small sample size, but I think it's a good sign, a good spark that maybe the Braves are the Braves again. You know, they had been winning games, but it was against bad teams. The Mets are not a bad team. The Braves came in, looked like they were going to lose, then they had the tenacity to come back, and then they just dominated for the rest of the series. The Braves look good. In fact, it made me start digging into the numbers, and I'm like, man, are things going well? And things are going well. The Braves, since the start of May, have the 3rd best ERA in all of baseball. If you look at their expected win based on their run differential, they really have been one of the unluckiest teams in the sport because of all the one-run games. And so they've really been playing like a 39-win team rather than a 34-win team. And so if the Braves continue to play exactly how they're playing now, they might do well. In fact, over the past 2 weeks or so, their playoff odds went from 24% all the way up to 41%. So things are looking good.
Well, tonight, we have no idea how they're going to be looking. Of course, we would love to see the offense show up in support of the youngest MLB pitcher debuting tonight, Didier Fuentes. But tell us about the Brave starter. Just 20 years old. I don't know much beyond that. Tell us about Mr. Fuentes.
So the Braves were in trouble for years because of what happened with Copy, where they lost their international spending money, but they finally got it back. And one of the guys they went off after was this dude. He's very young, as you've already stated. And if you look at his high-level numbers, you're thinking, okay, he had a 4.81 ERA this year. Why in the world are they calling him up? Well, he was very highly touted. He was one of the top guys that they went after with that money. And if you dig deeper past the ERA, he's actually been extremely unlucky, okay? So he's had a 58.4% strand rate, and what that means is only 58.4% of runners that are on base get stranded. On average in the MLB, it's around 72 to 74% on average. So he's been extremely unlucky. It's like almost every other base runner that gets on base has scored somehow, and that a lot of times is not the pitcher's fault. It's just simply bad luck. If you look at his strikeout rate, he strikes out almost 30% of the batters he faces while only walking about 7%. He strikes out almost 5 batters to every 1 walk. And his fielding independent pitching is a 2.81, which if you had an ERA around the 2.81, you're an elite pitcher. So they like what they see. I like what I've seen from him, so I'm pretty excited.
And I love the nickname as well, the Silent Assassin. Looking forward to his debut tonight. Sam, what do we need to see in this series on the road versus the Marlins for the Braves?
Well, it's interesting. Pretty much the opposite of what happened last year is that the Braves have been dominating at home and been absolutely destroyed in away games. Mm-hmm. And so the Braves need to show that, hey, you can't stick with that high from sweeping the Mets. You got to take care of business. You're supposed to win this series. Go down there and win this series because the Mets are playing the Phillies. A lot can happen over the next 10 games. The Braves got to win the games that they're supposed to win and keep it close in games that they're not supposed to win. And so this is a series that they have to win because they're supposed to win.
Yeah, this stretch is crucial for us, and we talked about that last week some too, with it being the Mets at the house, then the Marlins and the Mets on the road, then the Phillies back at the house for next weekend. So how important how many wins do the Braves need out of the next 2 series? Just the road series, which again you mentioned how bad they've been on the road. I think they need 4 of 6. That could be a sweep sweep versus the Marlins and then just winning one against the Mets or whatever. I think they need 4 of 6. What's your thoughts?
Well, they played the Mets 4 times, and they played the Marlins 3.
Okay.
So I think they need to win. If it were me, I think I want 5 wins out of this.
Okay.
Out of the next 7 games.
5 out of 7 is
that would be. Yeah, I think that's what I would go with, just simply because with it being a 4-game set with the Mets away, winning half of those I'd be extremely happy with. And plus that would give them the tiebreaker if somehow magically they tie at the end of the season. So I think that would be huge. And then with the Marlins, obviously I want to see them win all 3, but I'll give them 1. And so, one way or the other, I want to see 5 out of 7.
Real quick, I wanted to get your thoughts, and then I have a Braves, maybe not a perspective. I want to get your thoughts on the Braves' lack of a deal there. But what do you think of the Giants going out and making a trade with the Red Sox for Rafael Devers?
I think it was extremely smart. I think it was a good trade for both teams, honestly. It was very clear that Rafael Devers was not happy in Boston. He didn't, publicly ask for a trade or anything, but it was pretty clear that he wanted out. And the Giants have not had a 30 home run hitter or a true slugger really since Barry Bonds. So that's one thing they've been lacking. And they went after Aaron Judge, they failed. They went after Carlos Correa, they didn't get him because of his leg issue. They even went after Giancarlo Stanton back in the day when he was a free agent, and they kept failing at getting a slugger, and now they finally have him. So it makes sense why they spent the money for Devers. Devers his ceiling is extremely high. He's always going to be good with the bat, and they do have a hole at first base. So, it just makes a ton of sense for the Giants and for the Red Sox. You just freed yourself up for $31 million a year for years to come that you can spend that money on players that actually want to be there. So I really think it's a win-win.
So, per the Stripers report, the Red Sox did approach the Braves to gauge interest in Rafael Devers. The Red Sox asked for Sean Murphy, Marcelo Ozuna, and 2 pitching prospects. But compared to the haul that the Giants gave up, this seems like a world away from that.
So, I don't want to seem like a jerk, but to Stripers report, but that's not a real. They claim to be a real source and gain real sources. They don't. They are a troll account that claims to be real.
I like the troll accounts that admit that they're like MLB Facts or whatever. I don't like the ones who pose as a legitimate source. And I literally just saw that scrolling in the break, looking for other content and other questions to ask you. So I figured we'd talk about that, but it has no bearing, huh?
Yeah. So Stripers report, I think it was last year, had a quote-unquote breaking news that just so happened to be correct, and ever since then people have thought that they're a legitimate source, so much so that you'll go online and you'll see blogs and stuff write about this account as if it's real. So they get a lot of people, but I am 99.9% sure that their source is they're just looking at other people's Twitter accounts and making stuff up.
So there you go. At least I'm trying to acknowledge and give them credit where credit is due, but credit for trolling me is exactly what they get out of that. But there was, because I've been looking to see what the Braves and Giants might have had cooked up, just because they were mentioned in the score, and I do trust that source, that they were one of the few teams that were, or one of the 3 or 4 teams that were in communications with the Red Sox.
Yeah, so basically Alex Anthopoulos was asked about this, and he said, of course, we kicked the tires. We knew that he was available, but we never got to the point that we actually negotiated any type of deal because the price range was out of, it was not something we were willing to pay. So it never really got to the stage of, these players for him.
All right, I've got a few veterans in Major League Baseball that haven't made their All-Star, that haven't made the All-Star team in a while. Just a quick list of them. We'll run through them, and you give us if they'll make the All-Star team this year or not. We'll start it off with Francisco Lindor, shortstop for the Mets. The last time he made the All-Star team was 2019. Will he make it here in 2025?
I would put it down as probably a lock for him for multiple reasons. One, the Mets are playing really well this year, which tends to get more votes. But Lindor's been one of the best shortstops, if not the best shortstop in the National League for years, and he continues to be this year. that's a lock for me. We should see him back.
Jacob deGrom, starting pitcher for the Rangers. Last time he made an All-Star team was 2021.
You know, he's having a fantastic year, and hardly anyone's talking about it. I know. But I hope that the players and the commissioner's office, they're the one that select the pitcher. I think, there's 12 pitchers. 9 of them are going to be starters per team. I think he is in the top 9, and I hope he gets selected.
All right. And I got to eat those words because of how many times I've talked about Jacob deGrom. Not in the talent, but just in the staying healthy. He stayed healthy this year, and he has, as you mentioned, gone under the radar. Kyle Schwarber, designated here for the Phillies. Last time he made the All-Star team was in 2022. Does he do it here in 25?
I don't think so, just because you have Ohtani and Ozuna ahead of him. So I just don't see a world where they're going to carry 3 DHs on the All-Star team.
Robbie Ray, last time he made an All-Star team was 2017. A little bit of a resurgence for him to be on this list. What do you think?
I think if he does not make the All-Star team, it's a tragedy. He's been pitching lights out this year. And in my calculations, he's been the 13th best pitcher in all of baseball. That's both National League and American League. And so I hope to see him on that roster. I think he's earned it.
Gleyber Torres, second baseman for Detroit. Last time he made an All-Star team was in 2019, same as Francisco Lindor. What about this year?
Yeah, I think he's been the best overall second baseman in the American League. In fact, second base to me has been the weakest position offensively across the league. And I think for him, he is the best in the American League. So hopefully the fans will see that. The Tigers are doing well. He should be on there. He should be there.
Manny Machado, third baseman for the Padres. Sam Peebles on the line with us here at ESPN Northwest Florida. Last time Manny made the All-Star team was 2022. Does he make it this year?
Isn't that crazy? It's been since 2022. That blows my mind. But, yeah, he's absolutely earned it this year. In fact, he's been a top one, depending on how you want to look at it, he's been the top or the second best third baseman in the National League this year. So I think he's earned it. I'm going to vote for Braves, but if I was voting based on stats only, I would vote for Manny Machado.
Edwin Diaz from the Mets. Last time he made it, 2022. What about this year?
So he has been pitching really well this year. However, he's a relief pitcher. Typically, there's only about 3 or 4 relief pitchers on the roster. Yeah. He's definitely not been a top 4 relief pitcher in the National League this year. So I would say no this year.
Carlos Rodon out of the Yankees, starting pitcher there. Last time he made it, same as these next 2, 2022.
He's been pretty good this year, but voters, as far as players in the commissioner office goes, they really love looking at things that like ERA and strikeouts. And the ERA thing, it's not good enough to get in there. I don't think he's going to be there.
Byron Buxton, outfielder for the Minnesota Twins. Last time he made it, 2022. Does he this year?
I hope so, because I'm voting for him.
I love it. And then our last one is Paul Goldschmidt, first baseman for them Yankees. Does he make it in 2025?
I think based on how voting goes with fans, I think that there's a very good chance that he does. With him being on the Yankees, he's got a higher fan base to vote for him. He came in played way above expectations this year, at least in the first half. And so I think that there is a legitimate shot that he could make it.
All right, now we're going to do our all-star picks for the American League and the National League. All right, let's start. We'll start it off with you. We'll kind of go in the order. I've got MLB.com pulled up right here. Let's start with first base and do both sides, and then we'll follow suit. Sam.
Okay, so National League for first base, pretty tough for me between Pete Alonso and Freddie Freeman, but I think I'm going to give the edge to Pete Alonso, just barely, just because of his power display. He just slightly did better. And in the AL, I would vote for Ryan O'Hearn, but he's kind of been a utility player and he's not on the ballot as a first baseman. So I'm going to go with Jonathan Miranda of the Rays.
Oh, all right. I love that. I'm also going to go with Pete Alonso after a brief switch right there from Freddie Freeman. You talked me into it. Not that we're, here for talking each other in and out of picks, but I don't like Pete Alonso. But 63 RBIs is pretty impressive this year to go along with 17 home runs. So I'll go that direction in the National League. In the American League, I guess I'm I'm going to have to go the same direction as you with Jonathan Aranda. I made these picks about when the first or second day that they started the voting process, and I went with Jonathan Aranda. I'm sticking with him, but earlier on the National League side of things, I believe I had a different first baseman. All right, what about for you, Caveman Rick, first baseman?
Let's see. For American League, I'll switch it up. Let me do Torkelson from Detroit. I'll pick him. And for the National League, man, I don't want to pick anybody that's like my rivals. I hate doing this stuff, man. Because I'd like to pick, Harper, but that ain't going to happen.
Pick them Braves.
Right. So I'm saying it's like Braves or Mets. They're like, come on, man. Jeez, dude. All right, give me, I'll do the same as you guys, Alonso, man. It really don't matter.
All right, going to...
Picking garbage, man.
Second base, what do you got on this one, Sambo?
Like I said, this was the weakest position, but for the American League, I'm going to go Gleyber Torres, and National League, Brendan Donovan.
Ooh, I'm going, man. He's been huge for me in fantasy baseball this year, Brendan Donovan. I'm going to go with Tommy Edman for the Dodgers. He plays a little bit of outfield too, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's definitely a super utility for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. And then I'll also go with Gleyber Torres from those Detroit Tigers. K-Man?
Second base, I'll go Yankees. I'll go with Jazz Chisholm. And for the National League, give me, let's see here. Jeez, give me Horner, I guess, from the Cubs.
Nico, all right, good one. All right, moving to third base. What do you got, Sam?
For third base, I'm going to go with Jose Ramirez, the best third baseman in baseball. In the American League and National League, I'm going to go with Manny Machado.
Yep, I'm going Manny Machado as well. In the National League. In the American League, if Bregman was healthy, I'd be going Alex Bregman. Not that I guess that matters for all-star purposes, but yeah, I'll go Jose Ramirez at third base as well. Stud, can't go against him. Shortstop, oh no, man, Rick, who you got?
Oh yeah, okay. Let's see. National League, give me Machado, and then in American League, give me... I don't care which one. Give me Bregman anyways.
All right. Moving on to shortstop, Sam Peebles.
National League, I'm going to go with Francisco Lindor. But in American League, if you would have asked me a week ago, it would have been a different answer. But Jacob Wilson of the Athletics has been tearing it up. So I'm going to go with him. I think he's overtaken the lead spot for me.
Oh, I like that. I'm going to go with Jeremy Pena. That's
who I changed it from.
Yep, I'm going to go with him for the American League. And then, I hate to do this, but from the National League, I'm going to go with Trey Turner from the Phillies. Caveman Rick.
Let's see, American League, give me... who's there last year? Give me Bobby Witt. And then in National League... Yeah, why not? Give me Turner, too. Give me my boy.
All right. Let's move to catcher, and then we're just going to pick one outfielder, Sam, but let's do catcher real quick.
All right, catcher, Cal Raleigh. That's the easiest pick for me of any player. And then National League, I'm going to go with Will Smith.
All right. For me, American League, yeah, the big dumper right there. And then when it comes to the National League, I'm going to make a little bit of a surprise pick here. I'm going to go to the Colorado Rockies and go with Hunter Goodman.
Oh, nice pick.
All right, yeah, for me, for the American League, I'll go with Cal Raleigh. He's having a pretty good year, but for the National League, give me my boy, JT.
Oh, right. And then your top outfielder for both leagues, Sam?
Aaron Judge and Pete Crow Armstrong.
Ooh, I like that. You know what? You have to go Aaron Judge. And then on the National League side of things, I'm doing it, man. Come on. He's been lights out since he's came back. Give me Ronald Acuna Jr. hitting .376, 8 homers and 14 RBIs, and hasn't even been playing for a full month yet, I don't think. So give me Ronnie. Caveman Rick, your top two outfielders.
All right. Give me, I guess, like Aaron Judge. And then for the National League, give me... Saw him like last week. Yeah, do Frelick from
Sal Frelick, all right.
Yeah, from the Brew Crew.
That's a good one, but man, Pete Crow Armstrong, 20 home runs, 60 RBIs. Pretty impressive stuff there. Corbin Carroll's up there as well, but the batting average is a little bit lower this year, and the RBIs sitting at 44. Sam, can't wait for the series this week, but let's see. We got the Marlins, we got the Mets. You've already talked about both of those. Give me the player to watch for the Atlanta Braves this weekend.
Oh, man, I want to see, well, first we want to see tonight how the rookie's going to pitch.
Yeah.
That would be my number one, but that's one that's a little bit too obvious. But Matt Olson, he's been on an absolute tear lately. In fact, he's jumped up to number 2 in the national, tied for second in the National League, and no, in baseball, for wins above replacement with his solid defense. He's the only first baseman in all of baseball to have positive defensive value at the first base position. And his bat has come alive, too. So I'm going to keep my eyes on Matt Olson.
I love it. Sam, take care. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week, my friend.
Absolutely. Go Braves.
That is Sam Peebles, host and creator of the Braves Dugout podcast. The latest episode of the Braves Dugout just dropped. I believe they are ranking the shortstops in the National League East. So make sure you take the time to go check that out. Go subscribe to the Braves Dugout podcast anywhere that you listen to your podcast. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. Coming up next, we've got Chris Steffen talking some college baseball World Series with us. If you've got any text or comments or topics you'd like to talk about with Right State Chris, call with them or text us at 850-215-6290. That's the Red 7T's phone line. We'll be right back.
Call or text in now on the Red 7T's studio line. 850-215-6290. ESPN Northwest Florida.
The Atlanta Braves play here.
It's another weekend with the Atlanta Braves.
Everybody get waved home. Here's a throw to the plate. Save! A 3-run double for Olson.
The Braves swept the Mets and now look to wreck the Miami Marlins. We'll have coverage from Lone Depot Park coming up at 6 on your home for the Atlanta Braves on the Gulf Coast.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida. Here is your weather forecast on this Friday evening. As we head into tonight, clear skies and a low of 78 with a very light wind. For tomorrow morning, sunshine and a temp near 91. In the afternoon and evening, possible thunderstorms and mostly sunny and a high around 91. For Sunday, mostly sunshine in the morning followed by a possibility of thunderstorms and a high of 87. This weather forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
With over 65 years of combined experience, Instant Replay Sports Cards is happy to help you take your collection to the next level. They carry all the new hobby boxes, signed memorabilia, and supplies. New and vintage cards and Pokemon. They sell and trade cards and are always looking to buy. They're an authorized source for Topps, Panini, Upper Deck, and Leaf cards. Instant Replay Sports Cards is open 7 days a week at 752 West 23rd Street, down from Academy Sports. It can always be reached at InstantReplaySportsCards.com.
Whether you're an experienced investor or first-time buyer, Beach House will provide you with top-notch service to guide you through every step of the process. We make the real estate process fun and easy through effective marketing, strategic advertising, and always a client-focused experience. From single-family homes to full-scale developments, Beach House Sales Development has you covered. Check them out at beachhousesalesfl.com or give them a call at 850-919-3500.
Broadcasting from the CBC Construction Studios. Karen bought 83 liters of Dr. Thunder, a suitcase full of Cheez-Its, and a drum of Crisco. Now she's crying about using the self-check at Walmart.
Maybe we should speak to a manager or something.
Just saying. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Ciao! We are back. This is the Afternoon Underdogs. You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. We are on 104.3 on your dial. We're streaming live on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitch. And you can call or text us at the Red 7T's phone line, 850-215-6290. Red 7T's, the brand that brands you. Visit them at red7ts.com. We're live and local from the CBC Construction Studios. Visit them at CBC Construction. com or call them at 850-747-3815. Atlanta Braves coming up tonight here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Can't wait for it as the Braves are on a bit of a streak right now. They've got the Marlins, DDA Fuentes, the silent assassin, making his debut tonight. Coverage starts right after us at 6. First pitch at 6:10. Braves baseball on ESPN Northwest Florida, sponsored locally by Best Way Portable Buildings, Reliable Hydraulic Solutions, Mid-South Lumber, and by Brock Pest Control. Thank you for that, Bone Crusher. Caveman Rick in the CBC Construction Studios with us. I'm David Hayes, and we've got Chris Steffen on the line with us, also known as Wright State Chris. Chris, my friend, how are you doing?
I am closing up shop at work, so I'm doing great right now.
There we go. Yeah, thanks for giving us some of your time this afternoon. To this point, we're at the College World Series, but let's recap the final 2 games real quick and talk a little bit about that LSU-Arkansas game. Give us your thoughts on that game, on how LSU moved in to not just the catbird seat, but beyond getting into the College World Series.
Well, it's been the same thing with LSU outside of a single game. If we're just talking about LSU, they've been the most consistent team on the diamond, defensively, offensively, pitching-wise. They haven't made mistakes. They've gotten out of jams. They've had timely hitting. Oh, and they know how to field their positions in the 9th inning as well. So they've done what they needed to do to win. And, I feel bad for Arkansas, but I've told you this many times. You can go back, and I haven't said it just this year. I've said it previous years. I don't trust Arkansas. I don't trust Arkansas's coach. Outside of Mike Martin, he's been to the College World Series like 5 or 6 different times, and they've had all this potential, and they've been 1 or 2 outs away from winning games and then end up losing games. Last time they were there, they played Oregon State. They dropped a fly ball in the 9th inning when they had 2 outs and they were already ahead a game, and then the Oregon State ended up winning that game and then winning the next game. So I just don't trust them. So LSU played better, and they deserve to win.
Yeah, and then what about Coastal Carolina and their romping of Louisville? Louisville just kind of ran out of arms, but Coastal Carolina all over them. I believe it was 11-2, 12-3, something of that nature. A high-scoring game, but Coastal Carolina taking out Louisville to get to this point. Your thoughts there?
Same thing. They've been super consistent as well, and they had the right pitching. Louisville, they had to come back against Oregon State the day before, and you just run out of pitching. You only have so many premium arms, and at this level, if you can't, execute, teams are going to pick you apart. And, they scored 11 runs. They had a good amount of hits, and they picked their spots. They faced a lot of pitches and eventually got the pitches they need and pretty much crushed Louisville. So good for Louisville. They had a great run. They beat Vanderbilt just like Wright State did. So it was a good year.
All right, well, let's dive into the comparisons between these two teams that in the aspects of the game, lineup, defenses, starting pitch, and all that good stuff there. And you can name drop some players along the way. But let's start off with just the offensive lineup. Who would you say has the edge there? Is it Coastal Carolina or Louisiana State University?
I'm going to go, I'd love to go with Coastal, but just looking at some statistics, I got to go with LSU on this one. If you look at pitches they faced, pitches faced the last couple of games, they actually faced 10 more pitches per game than, and it's just about working at bats, especially in this season. It's about, working those pitch accounts up with the main guys, especially with Arkansas, facing pitches, fouling good ones off, and then facing the ones that you want to hit and having timely hitting. So, both of the lineups kind of struggle later on in there, and they've got a couple guys that can hit some home runs. Actually, Coastal hasn't hit a home run this post in the College World Series. I think they've had 1, but LSU's only had 2. So it's about small ball, and it's about getting on base. And I think LSU, they do a better job at the plate, 1 through 9, of getting good pitches. I don't know. What have you seen so far from LSU that makes you think that? Who do you think has got the better lineup?
I would say that it's LSU right here. Just I think that they have a little bit more power. We saw the heroics from Jared Jones, and what I've continuously seen out of Coastal Carolina is they just need one or two run lead, right? They don't need to be very explosive with the bats. And in fact, really not a whole lot of high-scoring games, unless Coastal Carolina's back was against the wall. Like when they put out Auburn, it felt like that. I think that they were high-scoring in the elimination factor of that game, and then also in the game against Louisville, but Louisville had ran out of gas. So for that reason, I would say LSU, and I would also say that LSU might be a little bit more timely, and a large part of that is recency bias dealing with that final game against Arkansas.
Yeah, Coastal has been hit by pitch it was like 150 times. I had it written down. I don't have it in front of me, but something crazy, some crazy number. But the thing is that we'll go into LSU's pitching, but LSU's first starters only hit 3 batters all year, and their second starters only hit 4 batters all year. So one of Coastal's things is negated by how good of LSU's pitching is.
Yeah, that's going to be.
I was going to ask.
That's going to play a big role, though, right, say Chris?
Coastal Carolina, they into leaning into pitches, and is that the reason for all those hits? You think?
You know what, Caveman? They've implemented a new rule that wasn't around when I was. You could lean into a pitch, and if it was a ball, they'd still call it a ball, but you wouldn't get first base. Now in college, and they can review this in certain places, if you lean into a pitch, it doesn't matter if it's a ball or not. If the umpire determines that you intentionally got hit by it, they now call it a strike. It doesn't matter if it was a ball or not. So there's ways that you can do it. You can turn forwards instead of backwards, and kind of you're kind of turning out of the way, but
lean out of the way of the ball.
Yeah. You lean out, but you're really leaning in. You know, so it's. You have ways to do it, but it's more difficult now because of that rule. But just something, if you're being aggressive up there and you're fouling off pitches, and pitchers get tired and frustrated, they make mistakes up there.
Yeah, that's a great point right there, right, say Chris. I've always thought, my personal opinion on it is, I don't like to see them leaning in, ball or strike, like leaning towards or leaning into the pitch. Don't like that. But I will say that if the ball's a ball, then it should still be a ball. I don't think that they should get you for a strike on that. However, neither here nor there. The rules are the rules. What about when it comes to their defense, not pitching, but just out there in the defense? Because we saw how big of a role that played in the LSU-Arkansas game. Which team has the edge when it comes to their defenses?
What do you think their season-long fielding percentages are? How far off do you think they are? I'll give you, just take a wild guess.
I'll say for LSU, I'll say they were .987, and for Coastal Carolina, I'll say .992.
Yeah, you're really close. I think it was .979 for Coastal and .981 for LSU. So very good out there. And a slight edge to LSU, just very, very slight edge. But both teams are great defensively and get the outs that they need to get. They don't give the other either other team any type of extra bases. Coastal's best player on defense is their catcher, Ian Bodine. He's the highest rated player defensively for Coastal, and he actually, a weird stat I saw, he actually steals 5 pitches for their pitchers throughout so balls that would be balls, he gets them to be strikes, about 5 a game.
I love that stat. Thanks for bringing that up, because I think that that's a lost art for the catcher these days.
Yeah, no, and there is a lost art. I feel like some catchers are framing balls they have no business trying to frame. You're just ticking the umpire off when you try to do it. And then I feel like that is a lost art, especially with the advent of, checking pitches and everything like that. But, there's a subtle way to do it where you're not upsetting the umpire and you can get things called later on. But LSU's best-rated defender or draftable guys, they're left fielders. So, I'm not as familiar with their infielders at all. I don't know if any of them are big draft guys, but it doesn't mean that you're not a great defender,
Yeah.
It's a lot about hitting more than it is about defensive fielding.
Absolutely, absolutely. But it still is a part of the game. Now, starting pitching, Coastal Carolina is going to have Jacob Morrison and then Cam Fluke going in games 1 and 2. Who do you think has the edge here between the starting pitchers? Will it be Coastal Carolina or LSU? I'm going to say that this is going to be the first category that I give the complete edge to Coastal Carolina.
So, did they say that Fluke's going first or Morrison's going
It'll be
first?
Morrison. It'll be Morrison going first and Cam Fluke going 2. What?
Okay.
No. Never mind. Don't quote me on that because this article from USA Today says in some order.
Yeah. Well, see, Morrison is okay. So they're both really tall dudes. Fluke's 6'6" and Morrison's 6'8". If you go back to Rice when they won the national championship, all of their pitchers were like 6'8" or above. Anyways. So they're really big guys out there. You know, they're obviously going to get drafted at some point in time. They throw a lot of strikes. Morrison, he's the one who won the game against Auburn, and then he also won the game against Oregon State, their 2 biggest games of the year so far. I feel like the closeout game against Auburn where they only gave up 1 run. And Fluke, he's a big guy too, and they also got a great reliever that comes in. So they have 3 really good pitchers. But LSU starter, Cade Anderson, he's projected to be the number 1 pick overall. I'm thinking he's going to be in the big leagues in about 2 years. He's going to fill out a little bit. I think he's comparable with the Braves' number 2 and number 3 and 4 starter right now. I'm not saying he can't be a number 1, but out of right now, he's going to come in and need a lot of innings as a big leaguer. So I actually do give when it comes to the 2 starters, it's just I give the poise and everything to LSU on this one. I think LSU has the premier top arms out of both of them. And Anthony Ianson, who was with San Diego last year, he's they both are the 1 and number 3 strikeouts in the strikeout holders in the NCAA this year. Cade Anderson is 170 strikeouts to 30 walks. That's like 5.6 strikeouts per walk.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
Yeah,
no, that's what you're going to see. That's what you're going to see from both teams and great defense.
Yeah, and I noticed with each round that goes by in the College World Series, you've been more and more impressed with Cade Anderson. But it will be interesting. Jacob Morrison, Cameron Fluke for Coastal Carolina, and for LSU, Cade Anderson and Anthony Ianson. What about the bullpen? For the bullpen, Coastal Carolina's got that big fella Ryan Lynch and Dominic Carbone, and then for LSU, their closer Kassan Evans. Who has the edge when it comes to their bullpen?
You know, I think that LSU at the top end, their bullpen's better. I would go with Shores. Shores came in for Anderson in the first game against Arkansas, and he shut down Arkansas. And then Kassan Evans, he's really their 3rd starter, but he also came out of the bullpen against Arkansas or against UCLA and shut them down. So they just, you had to win a game. But as I was listening today, LSU at the bottom end of their bullpen, if you can get past their premier arms at the top, they start walking people, they start hitting people, and that really feeds into what Coastal can do. So if Coastal can get by the first couple arms, I think they got a real shot at digging in against the lower end of the bullpen. So I'm going to give the bullpen to Coastal on this one, only because I feel like their guys can get it done a little bit better all the way from the top to the bottom.
I like it, man. I'm going to go Coastal Carolina just because of Ryan Lynch, man. Enjoy watching him come in to shut down the games. Then we'll go to coaching. Who has the edge in coaching? Is it Jay Johnson with the Tigers of LSU, or is it Kevin Schnall with Coastal Carolina? I believe he's in his first year with the Chanticleers.
Yeah, that I can't say one way or the other. Jay Johnson's been there before. Not that Kevin Schnall hasn't. Kevin Schnall was an integral coach for when Coastal won the championship in 16. But Jay Johnson's been there a couple times with Arizona. And then he won it a couple of years ago. Obviously, he doesn't have, Paul Skeens or Tommy Tanks or Cruz, in his lineup. But I got to give it to Jay Johnson. I listened to him talk. I'm very impressed with the mental side of the game that he was talking about. And but you can't take anything past Schnall at all either. Have you listened to any of them speak at all?
Yeah, I heard Jay Johnson when he was talking about the moments, when Tommy Tanks hit his home run, and he never felt that feeling before until Jerry Jones with a big hit the other night. I believe Martinez scoring. So we played that little sound clip yesterday. And with Kevin Schnall, I think the only thing that I know about him is him calling out Coach Sullivan of the Florida Gators after that whole situation.
Well, good for Schnall. Anything against the Gators, good with me.
Hey, there you go. How about an X factor for each team here?
X factor for the for LSU. It's gonna both. I'm gonna go with LSU's first baseman. He has 22 home runs on the year. Jones. He's got 22 home runs on the year. I'm gonna go with him because all the other things line up together. It's starting pitching. It's premier starting pitching and premier defense. I don't think these games are going to be very high scoring unless they can get. I mean, it makes. I'm not saying anything that isn't obvious. They're going to be very low scoring games unless they can get into the bullpen, quickly and start wearing those arms out. What do you think?
Ooh, for LSU, I'm going to go with the same guy that you're going with there, Jerry Jones, mainly for heroics that he had against Arkansas, and I mean because he had both of the hits that could have very well been outs, but proved to be pivotal in moving on to the College World Series, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll go with that as a name that just kind of sticks out, not just sticking out, but also recently what they've been able to do. What about Coastal Carolina? Who's the X factor there?
I got to go with Morrison. Tonight's game is pivotal. Tomorrow night's game is pivotal, but there's a word that I don't use in my normal vernacular unless I'm talking about baseball, but I need to see Morrison go out there and shove. Just absolutely shove and have him shut down LSU from the beginning. He threw 100 and some pitch against Oregon State. Dude's a stud out there. He's a huge dude, big guy, 6'8". So I need Jacob Morrison to go out there and prove that he's the best pitcher on the diamond. Doesn't matter if he's the first overall pick or not.
I'll go with, all right, so defensively, or not just defensively, but pitching-wise, I'm going to go with Ryan Lynch. Why? We saw what happened with Arkansas. I know I keep alluding back to this game, but we could be talking about a 3-2 game in the ninth inning, and you need someone to come in and shut it down. So I'll go with Ryan Lynch there. And then on the offensive side of the ball, I'm going to go with
You got a couple guys you can go with.
I know,
with
but I think, I don't want to go with Caden Bodine because of everyone's talking about him. Is Pato still out there in left field? Right field?
Yeah, let me, you've got, Barthel and Thorndice are the two. So left field, you've got Sebastian right now, Alexander Sebastian. So I'm not sure.
Let's go him then. Let's go him. He's a senior. The other guy was a sophomore.
Yeah.
I'll go with Sebastian Alexander. That'll make it easier for me. But I really do think it's going to come down to the bullpen pitching because I think Coastal Carolina's pitching is going to be great from the first inning to the 6th or 7th inning, and then the bullpen is going to have to play a huge role because the LSU bats are going to catch fire at some point. So, with that being said, who do you have winning this series and how many games? Because in our Who Has the Edge department, you gave every single edge to LSU. Does that line up, or is Coastal Carolina a team of dynasty? Destiny, not dynasty.
All right, so if you gave me $1,000 to bet, I'm going to go with LSU and free.
Okay.
But I'm just going to go with Coastal and free. LSU wins first game. Coastal comes back and wins the next 2 games.
Ooh, Caveman Rick, we're going to be making our picks for this one in the next segment. Do you agree or disagree?
It's tough. Really tough. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say LSU wins. They're winning the Jello shots too. So
yeah, there you go. Right State Chris, this is interesting to me. Is Coastal Carolina the Gonzaga of college baseball?
Yeah, they're the Boise State of college baseball as well. I think you're going to see with NIL especially that a lot of these bigger schools don't care about their baseball program. LSU does. Arkansas does. Mississippi State does. But Alabama, they can throw money at people, but I'm not picking Alabama just because it's you, Dave. I'm just saying, you know, in general, like Ohio State, like they can throw money at people, but are people really going to come and play there? You know, I think that Coastal has enough money to throw at players that also the kids know that they can develop there and that they can win there. You know, that's one of the big draws is that you're going to be in that conference tournament, conference championship every single year, and you're going to continue to win. So you're always going to be in the tournament. You're always going to be on the national stage. You're really close to Myrtle Beach. So it's just one of those things where it's ideal conditions to have a mid-major really be one of the best teams in the nation. So, yes, I would say they are Gonzaga of, you know, they've been around, and they've actually won a national championship.
That's why I wouldn't say that they're Gonzaga. I'd say it's throwing shade because they actually won in Gonzaga.
Villanova?
Maybe Villanova or something like that, but Villanova's had a history too, winning like, you know, in the 80s and stuff like that as well. They've got, you know, kind of a richer history, but I'm just kind of being a smart ass, like throwing shade because, like I said, you know, Gonzaga hasn't won yet. Coastal Carolina won, what was it? Was it 16, 17?
Yeah, 16.
Something like that. So because they have a little history, tradition of winning, I, you know, wouldn't knock them. I would think they're a little bit better than Boise State and Gonzaga.
Hey, real quick, Rice, go ahead.
No, you're going.
Well, it's a question from Lynn Haven Rob. Who has home field advantage each night?
You know, I have not looked at that. I'm going to guess that it's LSU because they're the higher seed. They were the 4th seed nationally, overall, and I think Coastal was number 13th seed. So I think it's going to be home LSU first game, home Coastal second game, and then, you know, they might flip, but I'm not sure on that rule right there. I'm not sure if that's changed or not. Yeah. I would like to see them do some kind of like for home field advantage on the third game, some kind of like little game they could play and like some, I don't know what you would do, a position, the coach's fungo hitting or something like that.
It is going to be LSU home on Saturday, Coastal Carolina home on Sunday, and then LSU home if Game 3 is necessary. All right, well, Wright State Chris, we're out of time, my man. Thanks so much for chatting about this College World Series with us, and hope that you enjoy it, my friend.
Appreciate it. Y'all too. Thank you for giving me my time.
That is Chris Steffen. We call him Wright State Chris around here. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. Listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Final segment of the afternoon coming up next.
Taking your hot takes, rants, and takedowns. Let's hear it on the Red 7T studio line. 850-215-6290. It's the PCB Hobby Takeover with Todd. Mondays at 5:20 on ESPN Northwest Florida.
That is a very high-end card and very rare.
Todd talks about coins, trading cards, collectibles, and the amazing stories behind them.
It was the first one that's ever come through my door.
Plus, we'll be taking your calls and questions at 850-215-6290. The PCB Hobby Takeover.
A platform for you to do your hobby.
Mondays at 5:20 on the Sports Talk Must. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Great 4th of July mattress savings going on now at the Sleep Center. Stop by the Sleep Center today and you can save up to $600 on select Stearns & Foster adjustable mattress sets. Stearns & Foster, made in the USA.
Sleep Center, where it's bedtime all day long.
Your spot for exciting college baseball and the best boiled seafood around is Lone Star Boil House. Watch the College Baseball National Championship Tournament and the College World Series on their huge Jumbotron. Plus, Lone Star Boil House is where the locals go for the best boiled seafood around. Shrimp, red royals, and everything crab. Follow Lone Star Boil House on Facebook for amazing food and beer specials. Lone Star Boil House, 320 West 5th Street, downtown Panama City.
Great 4th of July mattress savings going on now at the Sleep Center. Stop by the Sleep Center today and you can save up to $600 on select Stearns & Foster adjustable mattress sets. Stearns & Foster, made in the USA.
Sleep Center, where it's bedtime all day long.
When the chips are down and the games are close, the 2025 Atlanta Braves don't give up the fight.
Ozuna sends one soaring to deep left field. That's got wings and an engine, and it's 3-1 Braves.
Tonight, Don't miss a battle of division rivals from Lone Depot Park in Miami as Ronald Acuna and the Braves take on the Miami Marlins.
Braves heading down to Miami to take on the Marlins. Pre-game 6 o'clock, first pitch 6:10. Your home for the Braves on the Gulf Coast, ESPN Northwest Florida.
You found us inside the CBC Construction Studios. Hometown sports talk from hometown hosts.
People are loving it.
We're live and local. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs.
Are you kidding me?
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
We're back for a quick weekend wrap-up before we let you guys get out there to the Atlanta Braves. Thursdays at 4:20, join Alan Watson from Golf Plus right here. The Watson Report exclusively on the Sports Talk Monster 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. It's your final day to vote for Ryan Mulvey and Coach James Hill. If you want to keep that radio fun and positive, go to ESPNPC.com. Vote Ryan Mulvey or Coach James Hill for best radio personality and the best up Bay, and thanks for listening to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Go to ESPNPC.com. Thank you to CBC Construction for sponsoring our studios. Visit them at CBCConstruction.com. As always, call in and text in the Afternoon Underdogs. You hit us up on the Red 7Ts phone line at 850-215-6290. Just about 3 minutes left to go. Some news in the world of Major League Baseball. The big dumper, Cal Raleigh, has hit 2 more home runs, bringing his total up to 29. He's hit the 28th and the 29th, which now means that he only needed 73 games to break the record that Johnny Bench set back in 1970 for records for home runs by a catcher before the All-Star break. So that is the 22 games ahead of him, or before we get to the All-Star break. Congratulations there to Cal Raleigh, the big dumper. I mean, almost 30 home runs prior to the All-Star break is insane.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Just have to see if he can kind of keep it rolling, you know. All-Star break, too. Is he going to be in the home run derby? We've seen how that affects players' swings after the fact. So, a lot to see what's going to happen.
All right. Earlier, our question of the day, who's going to win Game 7, the Pacers or the Thunder? We have one texter texting in saying the Pacers 118 to 110. Hallie seals the deal late with a wild shot per usual. And then over on Facebook, we had Nick Baldwin. He said, I have no idea. India is basically Thanos at this point. They feel inevitable. Adam Goff says Pacers 107 to 103. And Dave Nee chiming in with the first Thunder pick, 111 to 107, which brings me to Caveman Rick. Caveman Rick, Game 7 coming up this Sunday evening. Who wins, Pacers or the Thunder?
Well, if you're going to go the way the series has kind of been going, you have to go probably Oklahoma City Thunder. Like Mark Monteith was saying, it seems like whichever team loses the game before needs the next win, they've been getting it, right? That holds true. You're probably thinking it's going to be the Thunder. So they're the deeper team. Arguably, you would say they probably got more talent. So the way the NBA seems to work, too, the Pacers, they made a good run last year, right?
Yeah.
But, the Thunder's been that team, for the last 3-4 years, been kind of, incrementally kind of going, just taking the steps. This is, the next step is for them to win.
So using that logic, the Pacers were there last year. It hasn't been as incrementally speaking, but they were there last year where the Thunder wasn't. So I'm going to use that logic, and I'll take the Pacers for that. Honestly, again, I'm picking the Pacers. I'm riding with them. They're my team. But this one has been so hard to pick. All right, real quick, we got a rapid fire. Who wins this series, the Devers series, Red Sox or Giants?
I'll go Giants.
I'm going to go Red Sox on the road.
Traveling.
CCU, LSU. Who wins the College World Series?
I already said LSU, Jello shots.
I'm going to go CCU for Ryan Mulvey. Fever, Aces. Pretty big game in the WNBA.
Give me Aces. They've been playing kind of bad, but give me the Aces over Fever.
Give me the Fever. Hey, that's going to do it for us this week. Your Atlanta Braves are coming up next for Bone Crusher Caveman Rick. I'm David Hayes. We're the Afternoon Underdogs. Just remember, Jesus loves you, so do I, and go Pacers.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
The Atlanta Braves play here.
It's another weekend with the Atlanta Braves.
Everybody get waved home. Here's a throw to the plate. Safe. A 3-run double for Olsen.
The Braves swept the Mets and now look to wreck the Miami Marlins. We'll have coverage from Lone Depot Park coming up at 6 on your home for the Atlanta Braves on the Gulf Coast.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida. Here is your weather forecast on this Friday evening. As we head into tonight, clear